Maybe I was not thought of or looked at or allowed to be looked at.
At 61, Johnny Depp finally breaks his silence, and what he reveals confirms the whispers that have followed him for years. Fans and critics alike are stunned.
When you're asked to resign from a film you're doing because of something that is merely a bunch of kind of vowels and consonants floating in the air, yeah, you feel a bit boycotted.
What truth has the Hollywood icon been hiding in plain sight? Stay with us as we uncover what Johnny Depp has finally decided to reveal to the world. The early shadows. Johnny Depp's journey into the world of substance use began alarmingly early, painting a portrait of a troubled youth seeking solace in the shadows. At just 11 years old, Depp recounted during his 2020 UK libel trial that his mother once asked him to fetch her nerve pills. In a moment of impulsive curiosity, he took one himself. That moment, he later reflected, marked the beginning of a pattern he would carry for decades. By the age of 12, he had already started smoking cigarettes. By 14, he had experimented with every kind of drug there was, as he later admitted. It wasn't about rebellion, he said, but about escape, a way to survive the instability of his early environment. In a 1997 interview with Vanity Fair, Depp spoke more openly about that turbulent period in his life. He described it bluntly as a pretty dark time, adding, "I was poisoning myself beyond belief. There was a lot of liquor. I was pretty unhealthy." Though Depp was known to play eccentric roles on screen, his real-life narrative was no less complex. The pain behind the public image was rarely seen unless one read between the lines. Depp's early exposure to drugs and alcohol wasn't rooted in rebellion or hedonism. It was, as he explained under oath, a form of self-medication. During his 2022 defamation trial against ex-wife Amber Heard, he shared that the home he grew up in was anything but peaceful. His mother, Betty Sue Palmer, was often physically and verbally abusive, and his father left when Johnny was just a teenager. In court, he said, the only way to numb the pain was to medicate to self-medicate. He made a point to explain that his substance use was not about partying. It wasn't about fun. It was about survival. Years earlier, in a 2008 interview with the Boston Globe, Depp admitted he had never been comfortable with fame. "I never wanted to be the guy people looked at," he said. It was a surprising confession from someone whose face was splashed across movie posters worldwide. He explained that the only way he could handle that level of attention was through drinking, a continuation of the coping mechanisms he had developed in adolescence. His ongoing struggle with substance use wasn't about celebrity excess. It was about never learning to deal with his pain in healthier ways. Throughout the libel trial, Depp gave even more insight into his lifelong relationship with drugs and alcohol. He admitted to using marijuana, MDMA, and cocaine, although he denied ever being addicted to them. But he did acknowledge a past addiction to the prescription painkiller oxycodone and confessed to misusing alcohol. Despite the widespread assumptions and public scrutiny, Depp insisted that his choices were never about thrill-seeking. Instead, he described his use of substances as a numbing agent, just to calm the circuits. These revelations offer a raw, unvarnished look at Johnny Depp's early life. His openness about his past, while controversial, provides insight into how deeply childhood experiences can shape a person. But when self-medication meets staggering wealth, does the quest for relief spiral into ruin? Come with us to know. The financial maelstrom. There's something jarring about watching a global superstar crumble not on screen, but in court filings and financial audits. For Johnny Depp, the man behind Captain Jack Sparrow, Edward Scissorhands, and other iconic roles, The real-life script took a sharp, staggering turn in 2017. It wasn't drugs this time. It was debt, massive, sprawling, multi-million-dollar debt that prompted a legal war with his former business managers, the management group TMG. Depp sued TMG for $25 million, claiming they had mismanaged his finances, failed to file taxes on time, taken unauthorized loans, and ultimately cost him tens of millions of dollars. But if Depp expected sympathy, what followed was more of a public unmasking. In a move that stunned Hollywood watchers, TMG countersued and didn't hold back. They claimed Depp wasn't a victim of fraud, but of his own unchecked extravagance. Suddenly, the headlines weren't about film releases. They were about a $3 million cannon blast to scatter writer Hunter S. Thompson's ashes, about a $30,000 a month wine budget, about buying 14 residences, including an entire French village, and needing a full-time staff of 40 people. TMG's court filings revealed line after line of outrageous expenses that sounded more like tabloid fiction than financial records. But Depp didn't flinch. In a 2018 interview with Rolling Stone, he acknowledged the wine but denied the narrative of recklessness. "It's insulting to say I spent $30,000 on wine," he said, "because it was far more." Delivered with his trademark sarcasm, the line went viral, but behind it was real bitterness. Depp insisted his trust had been betrayed. "I trusted these people to manage my money and I was blindsided," he said. "They stole from me." TMG's attorneys argued otherwise. In court documents and statements to the media, they portrayed Depp as an out-of-control spender who ignored repeated warnings about his cash flow. The firm claimed they had advised him to sell assets and reduce spending only to be ignored. Instead of budgeting, Depp reportedly bought more art, more property, and more vintage guitars. The spectacle escalated when it was revealed Depp had spent $7,000 on a couch from the Keeping Up with the Kardashians set. That image of one of cinema's great actors lounging on reality TV furniture captured the absurdity of the whole affair. Yet, amid the circus of numbers, there was a deeper, more troubling undertone. Depp wasn't just fighting about money, he was fighting to clear his name, to undo the public's perception that he was spiraling. He blamed TMG for making investments and decisions without his knowledge, including high-interest loans and risky ventures. In court, his attorneys painted the company as a shadowy force profiting off Depp's stardom while letting him stumble. The case never went to trial. In 2018, both parties settled privately, with no admission of wrongdoing. But by then, the damage was done. The public had seen the receipts literal and metaphorical. Depp's finances, once assumed to be bulletproof thanks to his $650 million earnings from films like Pirates of the Caribbean, were now exposed as a tangled mess of lawsuits, unpaid taxes, and unchecked luxury. In the years since, Depp has continued to work, but the financial storm left a lasting mark. His case became a cautionary tale in Hollywood. Success doesn't mean security, and even the most bankable stars can fall prey to bad deals, blind trust, or their own desires. For Depp, the battle over dollars became a war over dignity. When the silence of grief meets the noise of scandal, how does a man hold himself together? Stay with us as we step into the heart of Johnny Depp's most personal battle. A dark time in his life. Johnny Depp's descent into emotional chaos didn't begin on a movie set or in a courtroom. It began quietly, in a hospital room. In May 2016, just days before his world would implode publicly, Depp lost his mother, Betty Sue Palmer. Her passing hit him hard. According to Depp's testimony during his 2022 defamation trial, her death shattered what was already a fragile emotional state. "She was the most important woman in my life," he said, visibly emotional. But the grief had no time to settle. Only 3 days later, Amber Heard Depp's wife of just over a year filed for divorce and a temporary restraining order, alleging that Depp had been physically abusive. The accusations sparked a media firestorm. Paparazzi lined the courthouse steps, and headlines exploded with details of an alleged fight that ended with Heard's bruised face appearing on tabloids. Depp denied the allegations completely. "I have never struck a woman in my life," he later told the court. But at the time, he remained mostly silent, his grief, and now the storm of allegations, overwhelming. In court filings and public statements, Depp's lawyers claimed Heard's accusations were a ploy to gain financial advantage during the divorce. He accused her of manufacturing scenes to build a false narrative. Heard, on the other hand, insisted her claims were true, saying she had endured emotional, verbal, and physical misconduct throughout their relationship. The case became a battleground not just in courtrooms but across social media, where fans and critics fiercely debated who was telling the truth. The divorce was finalized in early 2017. Depp agreed to pay Heard $7 million, which she publicly pledged to donate to the ACLU and a children's hospital. The storm, however, was far from over. Depp claimed in a later UK libel trial that she had lied about the donation and pocketed much of the money. The fallout from that claim added another layer to an already toxic public battle. In a deeply revealing 2018 interview with Rolling Stone, Depp opened up about the toll the experience had taken on him. He was drinking heavily, dealing with lawsuits, and grieving his mother, all while watching his name become a punchline. "I was as low as I believe I could have gotten," he said. He described spending days alone, pouring himself vodka in the morning, and reflecting on everything he had lost, not just in money, but in trust and peace of mind. The divorce and misconduct allegations also cost him professionally. In 2020, after losing a libel suit against The Sun for calling him a wife-beater, Depp was asked to step down from his role in Fantastic Beasts. The verdict wasn't about criminal guilt, it was about the court believing Heard's account. Still, the reputational blow was enormous. Studios grew hesitant. Contracts stalled. The once bankable star became a controversial figure. Depp's battle with Heard was more than a divorce. It was a public reckoning. He was fighting not just for his reputation, but for some sense of clarity in a world where he felt increasingly misrepresented. Through loss, accusations, and emotional devastation, he stood under the full glare of public judgment, refusing to be defined by others' narratives. After the heartbreak and headlines, could justice finally clear his name? Let's see how the courtroom changed everything. Fighting back in court. In April 2022, Johnny Depp embarked on a legal battle that would captivate the world. He filed a defamation lawsuit against his ex-wife, Amber Heard, in Fairfax County, Virginia, over a 2018 op-ed she penned for The Washington Post, where she described herself as a public figure representing domestic misconduct. Although Depp wasn't named, he claimed the piece damaged his reputation and career. He sought $50 million in damages, asserting that Heard's allegations were false and had led to significant personal and professional losses. The trial, which began on April 11, 2022, was televised and streamed live, turning it into a public spectacle. Over 6 weeks, the courtroom became a stage where both parties presented their narratives. Depp's legal team aimed to prove that Heard's statements were not only false, but made with actual malice, a high bar in defamation cases involving public figures. On June 1, 2022, the jury delivered its verdict. They found that Heard had defamed Depp in all 3 counts he brought against her. Depp was awarded $10 million in compensatory damages and $5 million in punitive damages. But due to Virginia's cap on punitive damages, the total was reduced to $10.35 million. In a partial victory for Heard, the jury also found that Depp's former attorney had defamed her, awarding her $2 million in compensatory damages. Following the verdict, Depp expressed his gratitude, stating, "The jury gave me my life back. I am truly humbled." He emphasized that the trial was about revealing the truth, regardless of the outcome. The trial's public nature amplified its impact. Social media platforms were flooded with content supporting Depp and criticizing Heard. Experts noted that Depp was winning in the court of public opinion, with many online narratives favoring his perspective. Heard, in contrast, faced significant online backlash. She later stated that the social media frenzy influenced the jury's decision, expressing concern over the implications for victims of domestic mistreatment. The trial's outcome marked a significant shift in public perception of Depp. Once embroiled in controversy, he emerged with renewed support from fans and some industry peers. However, the long-term effects on both Depp and Heard's careers remain to be seen, as the case highlighted the complexities of personal relationships, public image, and the power of media narratives. In the aftermath, both parties filed appeals, but eventually reached a settlement in December 2022. Heard agreed to pay Depp $1 million, bringing the legal saga to a close. The Depp-Heard trial underscored the intersection of celebrity, law, and media in the digital age. It sparked discussions on domestic misconduct, defamation laws, and the influence of social media on public opinion and legal proceedings. With the courtroom battles behind him, how did Johnny Depp begin to rebuild not just his career, but himself? Let's step into the next act of his story. The artistic resurgence. In the aftermath of his tumultuous legal battles, Johnny Depp found solace and regeneration in the realm of art. Stepping away from the courtroom spotlight, he redirected his focus to creative endeavors that had long been overshadowed by public scrutiny. One of the most significant milestones in this period was Depp's return to directing after a 25-year hiatus. He took the helm of Modi, 3 Days on the Wing of Madness, a biographical film about the Italian artist Amedeo Modigliani. This project was not just a professional undertaking, but a personal journey for Depp, who expressed deep admiration for Modigliani's life and work. He described the artist's story as one of great hardship but eventual triumph, a universally human story all viewers can identify with. The film, co-produced with Al Pacino, was based on a play by Dennis McIntyre and adapted for the screen by Jerzy and Mary Kromalowski. It featured a stellar cast, including Riccardo Scamarcio as Modigliani, Stephen Graham, and Antonia Desplat. Filming commenced in September 2023 in Budapest, Hungary, with additional scenes shot in Los Angeles and Turin. The production wrapped up in early 2024, and the film premiered at the 72nd San Sebastian International Film Festival on September 24, 2024, receiving a warm reception and a lengthy standing ovation. Depp's return to the director's chair was more than a professional comeback. It was a therapeutic endeavor. In an interview at the Rome Film Festival, he reflected on his past experiences, stating, "Everything that we experience, you learn something somewhere along the way. So I don't have any ill feelings toward anyone." He emphasized the importance of moving forward and not harboring resentment, highlighting how his work on Modi allowed him to channel his experiences into art. Beyond filmmaking, Depp also explored other artistic avenues. he held an art exhibition titled A Bunch of Stuff in Chelsea, NYC, showcasing his paintings and a collection of personal artifacts. The exhibit, though met with mixed reviews, was a testament to Depp's multifaceted creativity and his desire to express himself beyond the confines of acting. Depp's artistic resurgence was not just about personal fulfillment, it also marked a shift in public perception. After years of controversy, his dedication to art and storytelling helped re-establish his image as a committed and passionate artist. While the scars of past battles remained, this period signified a renaissance in his creative pursuits, allowing him to reconnect with his passion and share it with the world. In embracing his artistic roots, Johnny Depp demonstrated resilience and a profound commitment to his craft. So after reclaiming his voice through art, could there be an even more personal revelation waiting to surface at 61? Let us tell you. Embracing the truth at 61. At 61, Johnny Depp is no longer the elusive heartthrob hiding behind eccentric characters or blurred sunglasses. Instead, he stands in a quieter light, wiser, wearier, and far more willing to speak the truth. Decades of fame, controversy, and reinvention have shaped a man who, after surviving the public crucible, now chooses reflection over performance. In a recent documentary about director Tim Burton, Depp opened up about his discomfort with fame from the very beginning. Speaking to People, he recalled being overwhelmed by the attention he received in the late 80s and early 90s. "I was sort of freaked out by it," he said, referring to his rising heartthrob status after 21 Jump Street. He never wanted to be seen as a teen idol. "It made me feel very uncomfortable," Depp admitted. This discomfort wasn't fleeting. It shaped the way Depp lived, acted, and distanced himself from mainstream Hollywood. When discussing his early roles, particularly Edward Scissorhands, he reflected on how Tim Burton's quiet, withdrawn character mirrored his own struggles with anxiety and self-doubt. Depp confessed that during filming, he thought he was doing terribly. But later he realized Burton was helping him channel his vulnerability, not just act it. These revelations were among the most honest Depp has ever shared. He admitted that for years he struggled with the public's misunderstanding of who he really was. At one point, he described himself as a raw nerve, saying the constant presence of paparazzi and media felt like emotional exposure. "They took a kid from Kentucky and made him a Hollywood product," he once said in an earlier interview. The persona, the myth, it became exhausting. Even in reflecting on his closest relationships, Depp revealed that Marlon Brando had been a guiding voice. In a resurfaced interview published by Los 40 and AS, he shared how Brando once urged him to take a year off and read Shakespeare. Depp has long flirted with the idea of performing Hamlet. "It scares me," he said, "but maybe that's why I have to do it." Now living in London, Depp has opted for a much quieter life. In a recent Page 6 article, he was seen on the set of Day Drinker, directed by Mark Webb, sporting a polished, silver-haired look. It's a return to form, not just creatively, but emotionally. The role an enigmatic man tangled in a psychological thriller seems to mirror the layered, complex man Depp has become. His reemergence isn't about image repair. It's about embracing the full scope of his life, the failures, the triumphs, and the uncomfortable in-betweens. In interviews, Depp no longer dodges questions. Instead, he meets them with a quiet honesty. "You learn who you are when everything's stripped away," he said. The truth, it seems, isn't something Depp feared. It's something he was growing into all along. If Johnny Depp's revelation left you speechless, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and tap the bell so you're always in the loop. Thanks for watching. and we'll see you in the next one.